Welcome to the NBA Coast to Coast podcast brought to you by thelines.com. Back from vacation, back on the West Coast, Josh Lander, joined by my man Nate Weitzer on the East Coast. As always, he hasn't gone anywhere. We are looking at a little 5-game slate tonight in the NBA for you guys. Plenty to choose from, though. In this one, we're taking a look at some fun teams right now, Nate. The Nets are in Sacktown taking on Los Kings, who are winning right now at a pretty hot rate. Take a look at some of that. Make sure to like and subscribe to the page. We also have another game video up for you today and our player props that we're bringing you each and every weekday of this regular season. I want you to head to thelines.com as well. That's where Nate and gang have all the great written content up for you all season long, and our odds finder tool that you can go ahead and use to make sure you're shopping those lines across U.S. sportsbooks to the best of your ability. Nate, let's go ahead and kick things off with these lines tonight and then talk all things Kings and Nets.
Yeah, 5 games and narrows down our choices because we don't really know the situation here. Memphis and New Orleans. Grizz are plus 3.5 right now. It's crept up a little bit with Desmond Bane doubtful. Jaren Jackson Jr. might play for the first time this season, and Zion is a game-time decision, which changes everything if he's in for New Orleans. Clippers are on a back-to-back after beating the Rockets in Houston. They're in Dallas, and they're 7-point dogs there against Luka and company. The other game we break down, the Knicks are up to plus 5 at Utah. Total's at 230.5, which we both feel is a little high for those Knickerbockers. The Spurs plus 8.5 at Portland to cap things off. And then we get to this game. Yeah, Nets plus 2 at Kings. Total at 226.5. It's crept up a little bit. I mean, you got to think under with the Jacques Vaughn Nets here, but you got to think over with the Kings at home. So for me, the total is just like wait and see and gather more information for the next time these teams play. Because, I mean, totally nailed it last week when the Nets were playing the Knicks that this is going way under. I mean, since Jacques Vaughn took over, their pace is down. It was down 7 possessions at that point. It's crept up a little bit to 94 now, their pace. Defensive rating is 10 points better than last year, 17 points better per 100 possessions than it was under Steve Nash. But the offense is a concern. It's Kevin Durant. It's Kevin Durant and 4 guys playing off Kevin Durant because Kyrie is still not eligible to play. And predictably, the Nets are -7 net per 100 with KD off the floor. They're a raw plus 75 with him on the floor in their last 7 here. And they had gone under in 7 straight, including the last game with Nash, before they went over in a loss to the Lakers. And losing to the Lakers definitely raises some red flags that the honeymoon might be over, right? With Jock, with new coaching blood, with Kyrie out of the lineup, and that kind of galvanizing everybody to give effort on both ends of the floor. And now you're just smack in the middle of a road trip. You're in your 3rd game in 4 nights after playing back-to-back in LA, and you got to go to Portland right after this to end that road trip. I don't see the Nets having, being emotionally that high for this game. I mean, the last time they were in Sacramento was actually the Harden quit game where he officially just like loafed around. I think Kyrie only had 4 points in that game too, and they lost like the 12th straight. But it's just a long way from home. KD hasn't played against Sacramento since he was with the Warriors 3 years ago. So we'll see how they guard him. Harrison Barnes probably gets first crack at that, but I would much rather take a team, a well-balanced team in the Kings, who, I mean, let's face it, are playing like a real top 15 at least team. They're playing like a playoff team. They've won 6 of their last 7 with De'Aaron Fox. Their loss without him in Miami was close. They're 9-3 against the spread on the season, 7-0 against the spread with a normal 1 day of rest, 5-0 after a win. They're coming off an impressive win over the Warriors where Sabonis 22 boards in that game. He's now finding his stride again. You talked about it the last time we picked the Kings. In his last 6 now, he's averaging 22, 12, and 7, getting to the line 8 times a game, shooting 57% from the floor. And the Nets, while they're number 1 in paint points right now, and doing a good job limiting that under Vaughn, they just got roasted for 37 by Anthony Davis and gave up 56 paint points to that Lakers team that can't shoot. They also gave up a good 3-point percentage, and they couldn't hit from 3. So the Kings have snipers, though. They've got great shooters. They're 5th in 3-pointers made right now. They got both Malik Monk and Kevin Porter playing off Fox and Sabonis. Great passers, great initiators. So, I mean, it's pretty simple for me. If the spread is only 2 or 3, I'm taking the Kings all day at home here. There's a massive kind of rest advantage, and I think more overall talent. I mean, Durant might be the best player on the floor, but what do the Kings have the next best 4 players in this game at least?
Easy. Yeah, easy. That's sort of the difference in makeup of teams this year. It's like, how heavy are you at the top, and what do you have behind how heavy you are at the top? Are you winning because you're the Utah Jazz and you have just like 5 to 8 really good NBA players, or are you the Nets and you rely on on one player, especially right now, to have a 35 to 40% usage rate for you to do anything, and that usage rate doesn't even include the amount just that he has the ball in his hands. So I would rather have a team full of wing players and a few stars, and that's what the Kings makeup is. I think it's definitely there's a few things that these teams do really differently, and a few things that they do really similarly. And it is, I'm speaking specifically about the Jacques Vaughn Nets, which it's definitely, there was a bit of a honeymoon phase. That loss to the Lakers, as you said, definitely raises some eyebrows. But that loss was sort of the way that the Nets are going to lose, and it looks worse because they scored 103 against the Lakers, who, I mean, are better on defense, to be honest, and they gave up that 116. I think it's the way that they're losing. Like we were talking about you were talking about the things that they do well, things they don't do well. Well, AD just ate them alive, and really he didn't even really need to do anything around the outside of the paint. He had 18 boards in that game, a bunch of second chance points, and the fact that he shot better than, I think, like 65% from the field, and like 75% in the paint. I looked at that game a lot, like, what the hell happened here? I remember all of that just from looking at it a few nights ago because I was just so confused, and that's really all it was. And if that's the recipe for success against this team, against the Kangs, it cautions me a little bit to feel that comfortable about the Nets, just in this, or about the Kings being able to handle them, just from the standpoint that if the Nets 3-point defense has been a lot better, if their defense, the way that it's been constructed since Jacques Vaughn took over, is to slow things down and to not allow you to have those wide open shots that they were giving up earlier in the year, then I think that the Nets stand a lot better of a chance than we might give them. I do start feeling better about that under a little bit more that you were talking about. 226 in a game where the Kings, they're playing still pretty fast. Obviously they're the Kings, but it's not like that's all that they have is just De'Aaron Fox run and gun, and if he's not doing his thing well enough, then they're in trouble, right? I mean, they're still in the top 15 in terms of their pace, are the Kings, but at home as well, there's a bit more efficiency where you go, okay, if there's not going to be as many turnovers either, and the Nets can't get those points, the easier points, those points in the paints that you were talking about too, a lot of those in transition for them, then I think there's, that's where you lean Kings, because of the fact that if they're going to be that efficient on offense, and they're going to be able to, like I said, not turn the ball over that well, which is something they've done incredibly well in those last 4 games, which is why they're winning at the pace that they are, then yeah, I'll feel better about the Kings. But overall, man, I'm a little bit shook on this one. I think it's a fun game to talk about with the way that these two teams are sort of splitting, and I've been talking out of both sides of my mouth since I started speaking in this segment, which just shows you the sort of hesitancy that I have to lay money on either of them. Full transparency, I'm not. I really like that other game a lot better in terms of the Knicks and Jazz. I think there's a lot more reliability there, and what we can expect. I think there's just a little bit more influx, in that loss to the Lakers, giving up 116 points on the road for the Nets, is what gives me pause to even feel any kind of confidence in either them or that under, which is where I would want to lean if I were going to bet on this game.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, we're still in the information gathering stage. I think with the Nets, like I said, it's a 7-game sample size, and there's a lot of uncertainty just in the night-to-night effort you're going to get from this team now that they've kind of settled into their new regime. You look at the numbers, though. Yeah, I mean, I come back to the Kings being able to score either in the half court or in semi-transition. The Nets are 27th in opponents' 3-point shooting, and at home, the Kings scoring the 4th highest percentage of their points off threes, which is strange. I mean, they're number 1 in 2-point percentage, but they're like bottom 3 in terms of their points scored inside the arc. So, I mean, maybe they could get something going there, but I do look at Durant having a big game here. Like I said, hasn't faced his team in 3 years. Mike Brown's defense is really funneling things inside the arc to the mid-range. That seems to be what they're built on, but they're dead last in opponents' shooting efficiency and 28th in paint points, 28th in 2-point percentage. So I think it's a mid-range game for KD to get a lot going and maybe bend that defense and get some dimes. So, I mean, maybe that see a little preview of our player props there. If you don't want to bet on the result of this game, maybe bet on the stars showing out. But yeah, like I said, I want to wait and see what the pace and the defensive rating is like consistently for the Nets before I bet over or under. I do feel fine taking the Kings, though. I think they're kind of routinely undervalued in these spreads. Definitely nailed it with them beating the Lakers and transitive property. They beat the Lakers. Lakers beat the Nets. Let's go. They're at home. But more importantly, they're at home. Nets are on a tiring road trip here.
Yeah, no, and I'm glad you said that. And I know you said it sarcastically because transitive property by far exists less in the NBA than I would say any sport, even the NFL, which confuses the hell out of us because it's such a matchup-based sport. The NBA, it's not it's a matchup-based sport, less so than the NFL for sure, but it is who's playing, what point in the season is it? It's an 82 game season versus, how many do they play now? 17 in the NFL, right? Like every week in the NFL, we're going, okay, we got 17 weeks to make our money on this sport. Let's get these bets in. The NBA, dude, is happening every night, right? So like when it's a 5-game slate, there's a bit of weirdness. This is just one that's a little bit of a stay away because we just rattled off like 15 different sort of categories of stats, game theories that could materialize here, and they're all conflicting. They all could go either way. This team doesn't give up points in the paint. This team scores all their points in the paint. They both give up a ton of 3-pointers and don't defend it well. One of them shoots more. I don't know. One of them has KD, right? Can Mike Brown's defense, it's the first year that we're really seeing it, like you said, can it sort of funnel KD? Are they going to let him go off for 38 and minimize what everybody else can do? Or are they going to try to shut him down and say, Royce O'Neal and Seth Curry and company, you guys need to beat us, right? Like, I still don't quite know. And that's why I don't feel comfortable enough with the stats and the sample size, everything we said, to maybe wager on it tonight. But we don't have to. We've got plenty more opportunity to, and we've got the Knicks Jazz game that we can feel good about tonight. So that is all the time we have in this one for you guys. Make sure to like and subscribe to that page. I promise you, we have a lot more confidence and solid picks in our player props as well today. So want to make sure to continue to follow along with those. And until we see you next, happy betting.